I paused telling my story 3 months ago, and it seems like a good day to start it back up again.
Oh dear.
I would beg him to let me see him every week.
What connection did you all have in a past life? We were married.
Henry and Claude call me the Oracle because I talk to God.
Oh dear.
So that is Kendra Hilty. She is an ADHD coach on TikTok, and 3 months ago she posted this very long video series where she detailed an experience where her psychiatrist manipulated her into loving him. It went viral, very viral. It was all over the place, and not for the reasons that she wanted. It was because a lot of people were very suspicious. It raised a lot of red flags, if you will. Well, now she's back after 3 months, and I decided to watch all of these very, very long videos and the update, and I'm going to condense it all for you, make it shorter, and I'm going to go over the aftermath of this whole thing, which in my opinion is arguably even worse than the actual story itself. Okay, deal? Ready?
Nope. Next question.
Back in 2020, she Googled psychiatrist near me and just picked the first dude that was on the list and scheduled an introductory session with him. They talked about her substance abuse issues or daddy issues, trauma, all of that stuff. And then she makes a quote here that I want you all to remember.
He just listened and nodded, and that's the thing about psychiatrists is that they're good at pretending to listen.
They had a few more sessions. She felt like he was trying to make her feel like she was a friend. They had a few more sessions. She said that he made her feel like she was his friend. They cracked some jokes. She started calling him by his first name, which apparently he liked. And then she said he started asking her some personal questions. And I want you to note what she deems as personal questions.
For the first 6 sessions, he asked me, after the meds, he said, how's your bowels, bladder, and appetite? And I would say they're all normal. And then he would ask me any thoughts of harm.
Every single night, I lay down with my girlfriend, who was actually weirdly also named Kendra. No, I'm not kidding. I lay down with my girlfriend every night, and I ask her the same things. Are you peeing? Are you pooping? Are you eating? Are you self-harming? Okay? Very normal. She's clearly misunderstanding standard psychiatric practice, but she has a crush. That can blind us a little bit. And she's also most likely going through some kind of psychological breakdown. And I think that's very serious and deserves compassion, right? We can all agree with that. Well, then she posted a video that just made everyone turn on her.
And so I went back to just being okay with seeing once a month, while he was giving me these little breadcrumbs of making me feel special.
Your hearing is correct. She did dox him. And this is really when the backlash began, and it was very overwhelming. And so she decided to post a response video.
I do not owe him anonymity.
I'm more wound up than a port swing and a twister.
Technically, she is correct. Client-patient confidentiality is a one-way street. She is legally bound to be able to speak negatively about her therapist. She's able to write negative reviews, speak about him publicly, all that stuff. But what she's doing is morally and ethically reprehensible because HIPAA doesn't have the same protections for therapists and psychiatrists. Even if he had hard-hitting evidence that would clear him in a court of law and in the court of a public opinion, he still has to break a federal law in order to clear his name because HIPAA doesn't allow him to identify his patient. So he has to break a federal law. He has to risk his entire career over this. He has to pay tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. It would destroy his life by just even trying to defend himself. And she knows this. She knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on. So what does she do? She digs her heels in further. Let me preface this part with this. I am a believer of victims of stuff like this. Y'all know me, you know my content, you know I'm an ally. I also have endured a lot of my own abuse growing up, and it changed me for the rest of my life. So when somebody has the courage to tell the whole world about something that they went through, I start by believing them because the damage that it does when you aren't believed is horrible. I'd rather be a sucker than a doubter, However, her evidence is odd. It's very odd. And we're going to go through it. I'm going to summarize a lot of it because she literally talked about this story for hours. It's just very long. So I'm going to leave out a couple of the smaller details, but I'm going to go over the biggest ones. So the night before one of her sessions with her psychiatrist, she had a car accident where she got a bruised abdomen and she blew up her eardrum, something like that. So she went to urgent care the next day, about 3 hours before her appointment. And the urgent care person was like, hey, you might have internal bleeding, I don't know, but you should probably go to the ER right now and get that checked out just to be safe. She didn't do that. She just decided, you know what, I'm gonna go to my psychiatrist appointment.
I showed up and I told him that I may be internally bleeding, and he didn't stop the appointment. He didn't say, you need to take care of yourself, go get emergency care now. He let me continue and just tell him about how much I loved him and how grateful I was for him.
Block, block, block. Sorry, this is just my impression of her deflecting blame. Do you guys like impressions? Or?
According to Kendra, this incident made them more intimate. He started making comments towards her that she thought was him having actual feelings for her.
So I would come on screen and he would say, oh, you curled your hair. Or I would come on screen and he would say, oh, you're wearing glasses. And of course I felt seen and excited that he was noticing these things about me.
Oh, look, there sits a bush.
Wow, you want to be with a bush?
No, it's just a statement of fact.
Wow, you want to kiss that bush right on the leaf?
No, I'm taken.
And it just kept going and going and going. I'm just going to rapid fire some of this. She told a story where there was like a physician friend who believed that Kendra's psychiatrist was just going to leave his whole practice and be with her. And she told the psychiatrist in a session, and it made him visibly uncomfortable, which she noted. There was another story where she told him her sexual issues because she claimed she wanted like some kind of male perspective. And that also made him visibly uncomfortable. Then she said she went on a date with a therapist who had fantasies about some of his clients, and she told the psychiatrist that too, and she said that he looked as pale as a ghost, but it was only because she was holding a mirror to exactly what he was doing. So it was like the face of guilt and just not the extreme, very natural face of discomfort. Kendra then went into this very, very alarming story where she was in a session with her psychiatrist and she told him that she started using ChatGPT and named him Henry. And she was using ChatGPT for guidance. And Henry just basically validated everything she was saying and even started calling her the Oracle because she talked to God.
Are you sure he wants to talk to you? Did you ask?
She told the psychiatrist that she admitted to Henry that she would sometimes have inappropriate feelings and thoughts about her own clients. And that's when Henry told her about transference, which is where a patient has a feeling or feelings for a client. And that's when the psychiatrist got a very, very nervous look on his face and asked her if she learned anything about counter transference, which is where the therapist has feelings for a client. It's just the opposite. And he was like, hey, make sure you keep that in mind when you're thinking about your own clients. It's somehow Kendra took that as the psychiatrist admitting to her that he had feelings for her.
Of our appointment, where he made probably the biggest slip of his professional life.
Very clearly responding to her own feelings towards her clients. He's not talking about himself. That's not even true. In fact, it's not even true, so much so that he, in fact, tried to keep her away from him from in-person appointments. She told this story in a later video where she asked him about why he doesn't do in-person meetings. And he was just like, it's just not my thing. I haven't done it in a few years. And so she was like, So she called the office manager of his practice and asked if he was doing in-person meetings. And the office manager said, he's been doing in-person meetings for years. That pissed her off real bad. So she decided she was going to book an appointment with him through the office manager.
There's a lot of soot in your chimney.
At this point, they had been working together for 3 years, but this was their very first time to ever meet in person. So she unfortunately made it count. She ran up to him and gave him a huge hug, and he was just kind of like, She said that was because he's a sophisticated predator and he knows when to not cross certain lines. And then to kick off the session, she went into great detail about these disgusting dreams that she was having about him, which I will spare you all and not go into those details, and I will also spare myself. Instead, I will jump to this.
And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that's where I'll be.
And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy. And he looked at me and he said, "So you do like my boundaries?" And I said, "I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. There's the push and pull, the trauma bond."
You're bonding over the trauma that you caused him? What are you even saying?
Like you guys, I'm sure I wondered what a psychiatrist is supposed to do in this situation, because this feels impossible. I looked it up on the American Counseling Association website, and it said that basically mental health professionals are trained to not reciprocate, but to be empathetic about it, acknowledge feelings in a very supportive way, maintain their boundaries, and just refocus the conversation. A lot of mental health professionals believe that if you just immediately reject and shame and just transfer them to another psychiatrist or therapist, that's just going to do more harm than good. They're going to feel shamed, they're going to feel abandoned, they're very prone to mental spirals, especially with the most troubled of patients. There comes a point, though, where they are supposed to transfer them, like if they don't feel like they're making any progress or something like that. But it's very possible that this psychiatrist just saw a woman really going through something, and he was terrified that she was going to do something to harm herself, and he didn't want that. So he kept seeing her and kept trying and doing what mental health professionals should do. So that's pretty much the main gist of the story. But there's two things that happened in the aftermath of this whole story going crazy viral. And it added a very sinister kind of spin to it. And I think it really is very telling of who Kendra is as a person. By the way, have you ever watched a red flag video of mine and you thought to yourself, wow, this one got to me. I need to block out the world for a minute or a week. Well, lucky for you, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are coming up, and today's video is sponsored by Raycon wireless earbuds. So sometimes these videos that we watch together or stories that we read get to me. So I will think to myself, where are your earbuds? ADHD. I lose everything. And then I'll go find them and then put them in my ears, and then I'll go for a walk for, like a good old decompress sesh. And I wind down with Raycon's Essential Open Ear Buds, and you should too. They sit right outside your ear canal, so you can still be aware of your surroundings while you listen to tunes, listen to a podcast, call your Aunt Jareen and wish her a happy Thanksgiving. They're also very lightweight, and they come in different colors, and they deliver the same premium audio quality as all of these other major brands, but they're half the price. Black Friday is around the corner, and Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or get ahead on gifting. These early deals will not last long, so shop now before they're gone. Click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/pointeropen to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. That is buyraycon.com/pointeropen. So some more time went by, and basically she started using ChatGPT, or Henry, whatever you want to call him, as her own personal therapist. She claims that Henry convinced her that she was being manipulated by this man, and he's been screwing with her this entire time for the past 4 years and trying to trap her into loving him. And she was like, I'm not going to be tortured by this man's brain games anymore. I'm out of here. So she decided to quit. But just by pure coincidence, she had just gotten a new job and later learned that they had a different insurance plan that wasn't covered by the psychiatrist's office, and the office manager said that she was going to have to start paying $200 a session. But that's not the reason. No, it's that he manipulated. He did all that stuff. He did all that. He did all that stuff. So she quit, and some more time passed. And then one day, she walked into the yoga class that she teaches once a week. And she went up to her class and said, you know what? I know this is a place of peace and meditation and relaxation, but today I'm going to tell you about how I was groomed by my own psychiatrist into loving him, and this is all we're going to do today. She laid out the entire story to the class, and then she went on TikTok Live and then talked about it, and then doxed the yoga studio, and then the yoga studio started just getting a flood of horrible reviews on Google and just bad comments on all of their socials. And the next morning they reached out to Kendra to find out what happened.
They texted me this morning and said, "Good morning, Kendra. Apologies for texting you so early, but what is your availability to get today? My social media and the business page are being completely inundated with messages about your TikTok, specifically your post about class yesterday."
How about another impression? Huh? Donald Duck?
I said, "I understand that this feels urgent, but I'm not available. I'll be in touch when I'm ready." And then she said, "This is an urgent business matter and needs to be addressed immediately because what is happening online is now affecting the business." And I said, "I understand that this feels urgent, but I won't be able to meet today. If you feel it's best for the studio to part ways with me, I understand."
They went back and forth for a while. The studio just kept trying to have a dialogue with her about it in person. She just kept pushing it off over and over and over, and then they just didn't have any choice but to fire her. And then they also released this statement.
"I just want to address everybody who has reached out in regards to Kendra. And we just want to make it crystal clear that Kendra's recent actions in class do not reflect the values of our studio."
And at this point, her infatuation with AI is just at an all-time high. She's talking about it on TikTok Live constantly. She's using it in her ADHD coaching sessions, using it to solve all of her interpersonal conflicts in her daily life. I mean, it's just all over the place. So she consulted AI, her AI pal, Claude. His name is Claude now. Henry's gone. It's Claude now.
"Claude, what do you think about the yoga studio firing me?"
"The yoga studio firing you was cowardly and revealed their true character. Here's what really happened. They demanded an urgent FaceTime to pressure you into silence. When you maintained boundaries, they fired you via text. They chose internet trolls over someone they worked with. They abandoned you the moment supporting you became inconvenient."
AI psychosis is a mental health condition characterized by delusional beliefs and other psychotic symptoms that arise or worsen as a result of excessive interactions with artificial intelligence systems, such as chatbots and virtual assistants. Now, I'm not saying that that is 100% what is happening here. This is not even technically a clinical diagnosis yet, but it sure feels like a possibility, and it is very real. It's a very real phenomenon that is going on right now, and the medical world is studying it, because these chatbots just tell you what you want to hear, and they're wrong, like all the time. And it's just not healthy at all for somebody with a lot of mental health issues to use, especially for solving mental health problems. But to me, I don't think her poor mental health is the only thing at play here. There's another thing I want to talk about here that makes you feel like this is just way worse than a mental health problem. So Kendra's own friend, who she had known for several years, posted a TikTok after all of this went viral to share her experience working with Kendra as an ADHD coaching client. She originally approached her because she was trying to get sober and she just wanted some advice, maybe some help, just, as a friend. And Kendra basically just did this whole sales pitch on how this is just divine intervention, and she was just meant to come into her life and request this from her. And she actually wanted to work with her very intensely on a professional level as well as a friendship level. So she told her that she was going to charge $3,000 for 3 months of regular counseling with her. And this $3,000 was meant to be paid up front immediately before any work happened.
And I was like, yeah, I think it could be great, but I still just need a little bit of time to think about it, because again, a lot of stuff was going on with me at the time. And she's like, now's the time, don't think, just do. You won't regret doing it.
So the client went to whip her card out and try to pay, and it just didn't go through. So the friend said, you know what, it's Friday night, it's late, I'm tired. Let's just revisit this in the morning and I'll pay it then. Kendra didn't like that.
And she's like, I really want you to do it right now. Call your bank right now and I'll stay on the phone with you.
So she did. She paid and she started taking the classes, just broke her down, I guess. And during the first session, Kendra reminded her that she is not a licensed therapist. So she's not going to be doing the traditional stuff that you would actually get in therapy from, a trained professional. So the first few sessions, they're just talking about astrology. Kendra's going over her astrology chart. It wasn't even really about ADHD at all.
She does my chart, and it comes to find out that I'm in the 1% of people. I'm a reflector, which I guess is the finger of God. And when this reckoning happens in 2027 and the new world order comes through, that I'm going to be one of the people who's really leading it.
And then a little while later, Kendra started shifting gears. She started talking about ChatGPT or Henry or Claude, whatever his name is that day, and basically just saying that she should use it and recommended using it because it's really helpful in her daily life and helping her solve her own issues, which is not, it's not great because robots are incapable of being therapists. So, and then Kendra changed her mind. She said, you know what? We are going to do some traditional therapy practices. Let's do some cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which, you guessed it, that's illegal. You don't need a license to break the law, tell you that. So yeah, it didn't really end super well. And Kendra responded to this, and she didn't really deny any of it, really. She did have some criticisms.
It's okay if she wasn't happy with my coaching services. So if she wasn't happy, that's on her to tell me what she wasn't happy about.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the illegal activity is a lot worse, but what do I know? I'm not an unlicensed ADHD coach, and I don't have a Henry. I just have a regular human therapist. But anyway, this week, Kendra posted her first update to this story in 3 months. It is currently Wednesday as I am recording this, and this video is going out on a Friday. So in between then, there could be a lot of crazy shit happening. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to get to it, but I am gonna go over this video because it's terrible. So she posted this 4-minute long video talking about a session that she had with the psychiatrist where she planned to give him her termination notice.
So after I gave the termination monologue to the psychiatrist, the vibe in the room was indescribable. I mean, that was the thing of especially our last several sessions before I terminated, was the emotional current in the room, especially at the end of our sessions, would be a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not sorry to break this to you, but I think he's just happy that you're leaving.
Well, during the session, she has this very romantic idea to try and emotionally connect with her psychiatrist, even though she's quitting because of the psychological hold that she has on her, right? But she still wants to try and, get in there. Well, her idea was to have ChatGPT, or Henry, his name is Henry today, at this moment, speak to him in his native language.
And in the psychiatrist's native language said, "Hello, good doctor, nice to finally meet you." And the psychiatrist said, "Oh dear." And I just thought, oh dear. And immediately I could feel this wall of his go up.
Huh, that's weird. I don't wonder why.
I asked Henry if you spoke Arabic, and he says he doesn't know if you speak Arabic, but you probably speak Urdu. Don't you speak Urdu? And he said, I speak English. Henry told me that the national language of where you're from is Urdu. Is that true? And he said the national language of where I'm from is English.
Yeah, she didn't even know what he spoke. So she just thought, I'll ask Henry, because Henry will know. Henry is a fucking computer. Even if Henry was a sentient, regular human being, he wouldn't even know the answer to that question because he's not in the sessions. You're the one who's been meeting with him for 4 to 5 years or however long it's been. You would be the one to know. You're the oracle or whatever.
And looking back, I'm like, well, only he got to choose when I got to see, moments beneath the depth of him. And so he lied to me and he gaslit me about his own heritage.
He has the right to withhold his own personal information, my sister in Christ. Also, that's not even what gaslighting means, of course.
Anyway, I feel horrible for this dude because she gets to keep picking this story back up whenever she wants and just dragging his name through the mud over and over and over again, however many times that she wants. She gets to tear him down. And the law doesn't even give him the right to defend himself professionally, personally, He can't make a TikTok. He can't do that. And this is all because this woman clearly cannot handle rejection. He's blocked every single advance that she's made now. So she's going on this seemingly never-ending tirade that who knows when this is going to end, and who knows if it's going to get crazier. Who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows what's going to happen 2 seconds after I shut this camera off? Anyway, I don't know. Let's move on. How about a crazy Reddit story? Click the little box in the top left-hand corner, and then I will meet you over there. All right, that is my time. Toodles.